Shalom, shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. Now, this is a recap, you may say, because I attempted earlier tonight to try to do this video, but technical difficulties prevented me to do such. However, with the time allotted, we will continue and proceed in this particular teaching. This is called Henotheism. Was it in the Israelite culture? In this, we're going to go over linguistics, we're going to go over etymology, we're going to go over history, and we're going to cite sources, most of it coming directly from the scriptures itself for edification purposes. Let us go, brothers and sisters. Henotheism. Was it in the Israelite culture? Shalom. This is a presentation brought to you by Yeshaya Yisrael, a Hebrew Israelite Old Testament-based brother. The matter to address regarding Elohim in Israel. Next slide. Hebrew presentation concerning Henotheism. Shalom LAKEM. Shalom. Giving honor and praise to Yah, the creator and maker of heaven and earth. It is in due love and respect of the Most High God that this presentation is presented. I do not claim to know everything, and I am open to constructive criticism. Brothers and sisters, I can be reached at 908-587-4841. Next slide. El and Elohim, the Hebrew way of understanding this. Okay, what you're looking at on the left-hand side, El, translated as God. Elohim, we will also see it translated as God. We will see it translated as judges. We will see it translated as mighty ones. And so we want to show for edification purposes when the definitions are used. Next slide. Elohim and Eloha. What you're looking at on the left-hand side says Elohim. And on the right-hand side here, it says Eloha. You read about God being said in Hebrew as Eloha, many cases inside of the book of Job. All right? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in Hebrew explained. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim wa et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The Hebrew you see in the green says bara Elohim, and the meaning of such is literally God, he created. The word bara is in Hebrew the third person masculine singular verb, meaning he created. So in Hebrew, you're going to have to understand that the verb agrees with the noun and that the noun will agree with the verb. All right, so they work in unison one with another. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. So since we already know and see, brothers and sisters, that bara is masculine singular and verb, Elohim, the author of the book of Genesis, already knew and understood that is that Elohim, Echad, God is one. You understand? So this is something we want to point out for reference purposes. Remember, I said that about that on this slide. The matter of Bara, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 26. Lift up your eyes on high and see who have created these. He that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by name, by the greatness of his might, and for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Se'u marom enekem, ur'u mi bara ele, hamotzi ba misparz ba'am, lukulam b'shem yikra merob, oni wa amit ko'ak ish lo nedar. So, brothers and sisters, what would he pointing out, brothers and sisters, in the bold type, as well as the same being underlined? We see here, bara. Bara, meaning created. Has created simply just shows the emphasis of it being within this past tense. He calleth, yukra. He calleth or he will call. Sometimes you'll find the future tense treated in Hebrew as the present tense. But the emphasis on this, brothers and sisters, is the aspect of whether it is plural or singular. And in this case, we can see that it is singular. This is why you begin to see this part right here, where it says, brothers and sisters, he calleth them by name. So them is plural, but them is not the Elohim. So let's go on to the next slide. The matter of El, Boreh, Isaiah chapter 42, verse 5. Thus saith God the Lord, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, he that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. Ko amar ha'el YHWH, Boreh Hashemayim, wa notehem rokwa ha'aret, was it ezaeha notein, neshama la'am aleha, wa ruach laholkim ba. All right, what do we want to emphasize in part is this here, amar. Amar means he said, past tense, masculine singular. Ha'el, the God, YHWH, the God YHWH, Boreh Hashemayim, the creator of the heavens. Rokwa ha'aretz, the one who spreads off or spreads forth the earth. Okay? So this is something we want to sit there and emphasize for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. Boreh, creator, not creators. This is not plural. So far, we see, brothers and sisters, that the Most High is shown in Hebrew in the masculine aspect, singular. Next slide. In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 12, the matter of El. I have declared and I have saved and I have announced, and there was no strange God among you. Therefore, you are my witness, saith the Lord, and I am God. Anoki, Higati, Wahushati, Wahishmati, Wa Ain Bakem Zard, Wa Atem Eda Neum Yorewahe, Wa Ani El. Neum Yorewahe, saith the Lord, saith the Creator. And what is he saying? Wa Ani El, speaking of himself. He's saying that he is El. He's saying that he is God. So this is something we want to show for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. Excuse me. Next slide. Psalms chapter 82, verse 1. God standeth in the congregation of God. In the midst of the judges, he judges. Elohim nezah ba'adat el, b'kwareb Elohim yishpot. What are we pointing out, brothers and sisters? And it's color-coded. This right here, brothers and sisters, where you see this word nizab, is connected with this verb that you see here. It's connected to this noun here. Nizab ba'adat el. Elohim, the Most High. All right? Nizab ba'adat el. B'kwareb Elohim yishpot. Brothers and sisters, God standeth in a congregation of God. Now, if you noticed earlier, I distinctly and meticulously stated Elohim, the Most High. Reason being is because in many cases, Elohim is speaking of the Most High. But there's two times you see Elohim written in this verse, in which it is not directly speaking in that regard of the Most High. And that is right here in the red and right here in the black. The black part here that says Elohim, brothers and sisters, is translated as judges. Yishpot, he judges or he will judge. So, Netzab, masculine singular. El, masculine singular. Yishpot, masculine singular. So therefore, the better translation of Psalms chapter 82, verse 1, is that God standeth in a congregation of the judges. In the midst of the judges, he judges. So this is something we want to show for edification purposes. Next slide. Psalms chapter 82, verse 6. I said, ye are godlike beings, and all of you, sons of the Most High. Ani amarti Elohim atem, ubne elyon kul ken. Ani amarti, even I have said, Elohim atem, you all are gods. You all are, as we know right here, where Elohim translated as judges, you all are judges. You all are mighty ones. Ubne Elohim, and the sons of the Most High, Kulkem, and all of you are the sons of the Most High. So, brothers and sisters, this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Exodus chapter 22, verse 27. Thou shalt not revile God, nor curse a ruler of thy people. Elohim lo tikwalel, wa nasi ba'amka lo ta'or. All right. In many translations, the reading where it says God reads as judges. This is important because if we see the El judges in the midst of Elohim, how can we think that El or Elohim has only one set meaning? So because we can see, brothers and sisters, that El judges in the midst of Elohim, but these Elohim that we've shown right here, brothers and sisters, are men. So when you read, brothers and sisters, about God standing in the congregation of God, and we already shown that Elohim means judges, meaning that God standeth in the congregation of judges. In the midst of the judges, he judges. In other words, he is the judge of judge. He is the God of gods. So these gods that you see of and mentioned right here in the book of Psalms chapter 82, believe it or not, are human beings. As we see right here in Psalms 82, verse 6. As we see right here in Exodus chapter 22, verse 27. So, brothers and sisters, this is what we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 2, Hebrew and English. And God spoke all these words, saying, all right, let's look at it. Wayidaber Elohim et kal hadbarim ha'ele lemor. If we remember that the verb agreeing with the noun, we must see that Wahidaber Elohim means in God he spoke, not in God they spoke. You see this right here? Daber is the root, meaning to speak. Yedaber means he will speak. Wahidaber means and he spoke, due to the wild consecutive in biblical Hebrew, where the future tense word is turned into past. All right, so this is something we want to show for edification purposes. All right? Wahidaber Elohim, God spoke. God he spoke, not God they spoke. All right? Let's go on. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 2, Hebrew part 2. Wayidaber. The word here literally says Wayidaber. In the 201 verb book, we see this on page 60. It is the PL verb stem word. In studying Hebrew grammar, we understand of the wild consecutive in biblical Hebrew, making the future tense words past tense and vice versa. This means that the author knows that Elohim speaking to Israel is a he, not a they. Otherwise, it would say Wahidabru and not Wahidaber. See, it would have had a wow right here had that been the case. So this is something we want to show for edification purposes. Next slide. Can't in Torah mix YHWH with another God. That is what some try to do. All right? Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image, nor any manner of likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Lo ta'ase laka fisel, wa kal temuna, asher ba shemayim ma'al, wa asher ba aretz mitakat, wa asher ba mayim mitakat la aretz. Lo tishtakawe lahim, wa lo ta'adin, ki anoki, yorewahe Eloheka, el kwana, poqued awon abot al banim, al sheleshim, wa al ribeim, lethon I. So this is saying, brothers and sisters, we just want to show for edification purposes. Because the Israelites were told to not make themselves any graven image, nor the manner of likeness of anything in the heaven above, the earth beneath, or the waters under the earth. We really don't know anything outside of heaven above, the earth we on, and the waters beneath us. What do we know outside of that? Nothing. So what the Most High is saying is that you're not supposed to be making yourself any graven images. And then it goes on to say, thou shalt not bow down unto them nor serve them, because the Most High, who El Kwana, because he's the creator, he does have a right to be Kwana, which is jealous. All right, because his creation is not supposed to be worshiping his creation. Next slide. Parsing, good. But limited. Thou shalt not steal. Said in Hebrew as what? Lo tignob, Exodus chapter 20. The point next to this is from 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 2. But Yehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons that were slain, even him and his nurse, and put them in a bedchamber. And they hid him from Atalia so that he was not slain. Watikwak, Yehosheba, Bat Hamelech, Yoram, Akot, Akazyahu, Et Yoash ben Akazyah, Watignob Oto, Metok Bene Hamelech, Hamu Matin, Oto, Waet Minikto, Bakadar Hamitot, Wayastiru Oto, Mipne Atalyahu, Walo Humat. All right, what's the point in me doing this? Because when you're dealing in parsing, brothers and sisters, right? And you see, as we see here, what the arrow is going to show, Tigno means you will steal. Lo Tigno means you will not steal. So when we see here the word Tigno, are we to sit there and say that has anything to do with you stealing, or does it mean that she stole? The point in this is that the second person, masculine, in the future tense, is the same way for the singular, third person feminine. So whatever you will do is said in Hebrew as ta'aseh, also means she will do. So if you're parsing, brothers and sisters, you cannot sit there and try to fit henotheism in that particular aspect either, as some may have tried to have done. All right? So this is something we want to just show for edification purposes. So parsing, and I say this in no disrespect, does not promote speaking. What parsing does, it shows you, okay, this is the future tense, masculine singular. This is the past tense, masculine singular. But people don't talk masculine singular and feminine singular and feminine plural, third person. They just speak words. You understand? So parsing, yes, it's a good thing, but it doesn't graduate to the next level as long as you just stay on that level. And this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Brothers and sisters, the children of Israel spoke, not only parsed their language. Next slide. The name, YHWH. In Hebrew, one cannot say my Yah, his Yah, or her Yah, simply because Yah is Yah. The Hebrew noun or verb, speaking of YHWH, is always in the singular. We discussed that Elohim means powers, gods, judges, mighty ones, can be shown in a plural. And in Hebrew culture, that is shown in a noun or verb that is with it. The Lord God, as shown in Genesis chapter 2, is YHWH Elohim. And we know that YHWH from the root Haya means to be or to exist. He who was, he who will be, the eternal power. Next slide. THALIM and MAYIM matter in Hebrew. In Hebrew, the word for water is MAYIM. In many cases, the im is showing the plural. Yet as we see water and waters are both MAYIM in Hebrew. In this case, it is not so much as it is plural, but rather the immensity of the object. Water is immense. In Hebrew, the word THALIM from Allah means you will hide. This, however, is not a plural word, though it ends in im. In the next slide, we will go over again some aspects of Hebrew knowledge. Next slide. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 39, and Isaiah chapter 45, verse 23. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For if I lift up my hand to heaven and say, as I live forever, By myself have I sworn. The word is going forth out of my mouth. In righteousness, and shall not come back, that unto me every knee shall bow and every tongue shall swear. Be nishmati yatza, me pi zadakwa dabar lo yashu. Ki li tikra kal berek, tishaba kal lashon. What is the point in that? The Most High is saying what? That he, speaking of himself, saying, I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. So you can't sit there and try to fit Henotheism in the culture of the Tanakh, because the Most High in the Tanakh is saying that there is no God with him. So since the Most High, as we know, is the all-knowing power, and he is saying that there is no God with him, there is no fit for Henotheism inside of the culture of the Israelites. So here we see right here in Isaiah chapter 45, by myself have I sworn. So if had the Most High been part of a pantheon, if the Most High had been part of the aspect of an ennead of different gods, and he was just one in particular among the several, then how is he able to say he swear by himself? You understand? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Matter of im or im. In Hebrew, the word for face is panim. In Hebrew, the word for virginity is betulim. The Hebrew word for bondage is abadim. The Hebrew word for water is mayim. The slide here shows examples in which the suffix has an im sound, yet the meaning is not plural. Because what happens in many cases with those who promote the parsing, as well as those who are indirectly also or directly dealing with the aspect of henotheism, they may sit there and say, well, you have the Kiddush Yod Mem, the Kiddush Yod Mem, the Kiddush Yod Mem. But here we see, brothers and sisters, Betulim has the Kiddush Yod Mem, and it does not mean virgins. The Hebrew word for virgins is Betulot. Betulim means virginity because it's something that's immense. They aim at the suffix of a word in Hebrew does not always make it plural. It can also show you the immense of it as panim, which means face or countenance, because the countenance of one is immense. Water, mayim, is immense. Virginity is immense. And so this is something we want to show for edification purposes. Next slide. So what exactly is henotheism? The adherence to one particular God out of several, especially by a family, tribe, or other group. The term is coined by Friedrich Schelling and Friedrich Welker, used it to depict primitive monotheism among the ancient Greeks. The term cannot be applied to Hebrew thought and culture. First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 41. And I'll read it right here. All right, so for edification purposes. First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 41. And it says this: moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. Brothers and sisters, that's from King Antiochus, who was part of the Seleucids. So he was a Greek. What is the point in that? The terminology henotheism itself is a Greek terminology. There is no Hebrew word for henotheism. So how can you try to sit there and take a word that can only be applied to a European culture, a European doctrine, a European dogma, a European religion, and then try to sit there and make it part of the Hebrew culture in the Tanakh? It does not fit in there, brothers and sisters. It does not fit in there, brothers and sisters. You understand? So let's look at this. The term is coined by Friedrich Schelling and Friedrich Muller used it to depict primitive monotheism among the ancient Greeks. So you had one, for the lack of a better word, white guy trying to sit there and describe the culture of the ancient Greeks by using a Greek word. He wouldn't use a Hebrew word to describe the culture of the Greeks. You understand? So this is something we just want to point out. So how then is it right or fair or even justified to use, brothers and sisters, a Greek terminology for a Hebrew culture? That shows you the aspect of what happened when Antiochus tried to bring out. Let everyone forsake the laws of his land. So all the heathen agree according to the commandment of the king. Brothers and sisters, we need not agree to the commandment of the king or whoever this king, brother and sister, is promoting this henotheism. Because whoever's promoting that is not going into the Hebrew culture. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. You got to understand the Most High first. The chart of the Greeks regarding the Seleucids. Antiochus the fourth was the son of Antiochus III. He ruled from 175 to 164 BCE. During this time is when the Maccabees revolted. The Bet Zur battle is when we see the temple that Ezra built rededicated, and thus we get Hanukkah. Next slide. House of the Seleucids. All right. I want to point out for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. All right. Here we see what? Antiochus III, where the arrow is. And here we see what? Antiochus IV, Epiphanes. So that's the same Antiochus that we just read of in the book of Maccabees, trying to make the Israelites get into the Greek culture. So anybody taking a Greek terminology that cannot be transliterated or transformed or translated into Hebrew is the same spirit that Antiochus had. You're trying to bring a Greek thought to a Hebrew people, and it does not fit. Next slide. The Greeks and the Canaanites. The Greeks worshiped the Baalim of Canaan under Greek names. Will Durant, in his book, Caesar and Christ, 1944. Psalms, chapter 106, verse 34 to verse 40, is when the Most High is mentioned, is when the Israelites are mentioned, about them giving their sons over to the gods of the Baalim or to the gods of Canaan. So what is the point in that, brothers and sisters? We're going to read to show for edification purposes. Let's go there. Let's go to the book of Psalms, if we will. Chapter 106. All right, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. Psalms 106, verse 34. And it says this. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Most High commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring after their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Most High kindled against his people, insomuch as he abhorred his own inheritance. Brothers and sisters, if the Israelites were denounced in the scriptures for following after the gods of Canaan, for following after the customs of Canaan, how then, if we can sit there and show that the Greeks named their gods after the aspect of the Canaanite Baalim, and so forth and so on, how, brothers and sisters, can a Greek thought fit into Hebrew culture when the Canaanite thought was rejected by the Hebrew culture? Let's go, if you will, to Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 22. All right, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 22. And it says, for though thou wash thee with nitrate, and take thee much soap, yet thine iniquity is wrought before me, saith the Lord God. How canst thou say, I am not polluted, I have not gone after Baalim? See thy way in the valley, know what thou hast done. Thou art a swift dromedary, traversing her ways, a wild ass used to the wilderness, that snuffing up the wind at her pleasure. And her occasion, who can turn her away? All they that seek her will not weary themselves. And her month they shall find her. Withhold thy foot from being unshod, and thy throat from thirst. But thou sayest, there is no hope. No, for I have loved strangers, and after them will I go. Brothers and sisters, in the book of Jeremiah, is telling the people to return back to the Most High. But what do the people say? I love strangers, and after that, I will go. Brothers and sisters, why did I have that read? For two reasons. Because it speaks about Israel going after the Baalim, which was a strange thing to the culture of the Israelites. So when we go back in Maccabees, chapter 1, brothers and sisters, all right, and it says here, for the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem into the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. So now you can see a connection between the culture of the Greeks and the culture of the Canaanites as far as their idolatry is concerned, as far as the Baalim then being later on by Greek names. You understand? Brothers and sisters, if it was strange in Psalms 106 concerning the culture of Canaan and the Israelites, and if it was strange in the book of First Maccabees concerning the culture of the Greeks and the Israelites, how then can one feel comfortable taking a Greek terminology and trying to apply it to the Hebrew culture? Brothers and sisters, that is just straight up disrespect. The gods of Canaan or they of Greece cannot speak as the God of the Hebrews, all right? Such as saying, I was here in the beginning, I can give you a blessing. So these types of things we want to show for edification purposes. Next slide. Tacitus, an enemy of the Israelites, described the culture of the Hebrews. Many again say that they, the Jews, were a race of Ethiopian origin, who were driven by fear and hatred to go seek a new dwelling place. Moses, wishing to secure for the future his authority over the nation, gave them a novel form of worship opposed to all practiced by other men. So Tacitus, a Roman, is saying that the Israelites, the Jews, Ayuda, the people of Judah, their way is different than the ways of all other men. So let's see, brothers and sisters, what men could he been talking about? Let's go on to the next slide. Many of the Greek gods became gods to the Romans. All right? Zeus became Jupiter, Hera became Juno, Athena became Minerva, Aphrodite, pardon me, became Venus, Selene became Diana. These and other gods and goddesses of the Greeks became gods and goddesses of the Romans. The God of the Hebrews was known to the Hebrews as YHWH. You can't mix the culture. So if the Greek culture in the book of Apocrypha was strange laws to the house of Israel, and if you can see, brothers and sisters, that the book of Psalms is saying that the Canaanite ways were strange to the culture of the Israelites. Not saying that Israelites didn't do strange things. We're talking about the culture, such as we see right here, where it says that Moses gave them a new form of worship opposed to all practiced by other men. So we see that Tacitus, a Roman, he knew that the gods of Rome and the goddesses of Rome, in many cases, were the gods and goddesses of Greece. And we already shown by citing Will Durant, brothers and sisters, the Greeks worshiped the Baalim of Canaan under Greek names. So the Canaanite gods became the Greek gods, which became the Roman gods. And brothers and sisters, the scriptures from the Old Testament as well as the Apocrypha is showing you that the Canaanite, later on Greek ways, were strange to the Israelites. So when somebody attempts to bring Henotheism, which can only be said in a Greek aspect, to the Hebrews, we got to look at you strange, brother. You're a stranger. Next slide. Monotheism and monism. The doctrine or belief that there is only one God, monotheism. A theory or doctrine that denies the existence of a distinction or duality in some sphere, such as that between matter and mind. or God in the world. Monism, the doctrine that one supreme God exists. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 39. All right, we are in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. All right, verse 39. So we can gain some understanding for edification purposes. All right, Deuteronomy 32, verse 39. And it says this. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. So if henotheism is saying that you believe in one God out of a family of gods, if that's the concept of what henotheism is, the Torah in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 says, I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. So the Most High is letting you know that you can't even fit henotheism within the culture of the Hebrew Israelites, where the Most High is mentioned in the Old Testament. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the children of men, he set the borders of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. Bahan Hel Elyon Goyim, Bahaf Rido Bene Adam, Yatzeb Gibulot Amim, Le Mispar Bene Yisrael. For whatever reason, people attempt to go in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8, and try to fit henotheism in there. But you can't fit that in there, brothers and sisters. All right. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Where the Most High is mentioned in the Old Testament. And these are the scriptures where the Most High is mentioned in the Old Testament. Genesis chapter 14, verse 18. All right. Genesis chapter 18, verse 22. Numbers chapter 24, verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 14. Let's go, brothers and sisters, to Psalms chapter 83, verse 18. All right, so we can see what this is talking about. We are in the book of Psalms. All right, chapter 83, verse 18. And it says the following. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, or Yah, art the Most High over all the earth. So in the book of Psalms, Yah, YHWH, is referred to as the Most High of the whole earth. So there is no pantheon with the Most High. You understand? So let that be noted for edification purposes. Next slide. Conclusion. There is no way to pluralize the holy name. Had the Holy One been part of a pantheon, then he would be able to be said to have a consort, and he does not. We are going to read Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19. All right, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19. And it says the following, all right? Proverbs 3:19. Yah, the Lord, by wisdom, hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. So the Most High, in the book of Proverbs, speaking of the same God, the Most High, as in the book of Genesis chapter 1, is the one who created the heavens and the earth. So YHWH in the book of Proverbs is the one who created the heavens and the earth. And Elohim in the book of Genesis is the one who created the heavens and the earth. In the book of Exodus, Elohim said that he is YHWH. Case closed. Shalom.